I think that, as you know, Denise, it's so hard to know what the best action is for dealing with any problem that
Mm,
those folks are responsible for in their everyday. But I do think that if we don't start thinking differently in how we address problems, we're going to come up with the same answers, which are broken answers.
that's right.
I am constantly trying to learn to rephrase what's in my head, because I think the same things too. And we all as humans think that we're right when we think
Hmm.
those things. I want to be able to embrace others' thoughts and opinions, digest it in my own head, and see how it fits within me, because I
Hmm.
think that's the way to get out of our comfort zone.
Hmm.
I see it no other way of making things better. What is this statement? Doing the same thing is insanity is doing the same thing or expecting whatever that saying
Expecting a
is.
different result. Hmm.
Yeah, that's exactly where we are if we don't
It is.
start
It is.
shifting ourselves.
Yeah, it
So
is.
yeah.
Well, and I'm with you. It's why I'm trying to figure out this next step of actually trying to bring to get people together to reinvent healthcare because we can't do it the same way. We
No,
have
I
to do
know.
this differently, completely, radically differently. And part of the way to do that is to say, okay, I keep seeing physicians come together and nurses come together. Why aren't we all coming together? Because we all have a piece of this puzzle.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But there's so much work to be done, Deb. So much.
feel like we're just losing time. Doesn't
I
it feel
know.
like we have no time?
I know. I know.
Um,
Well, I feel
and
like we're all in the deep end of the pool without a life jacket and we don't know how to swim and we're just kind of flailing around and
yeah.
in our efforts we're kind of pushing people down, right?
Yes, yes. That's such a good visual.
Yeah, yeah. And we're not going to survive if we keep that up. And that's where I'm
No.
kind of saying, okay, how do we band together and lift up and out of this and find
Yeah.
that light? And yeah, my biggest thing, Deb, is I can't do this alone at all. I'm very
Mhm.
much aware of just what this is going to take. That is, and there is so much that I don't know.
Yeah.
And so, how do we come together? And that's where Lonnie and I are trying to open that door to say to people, it's not the Lonnie and Denise show. It's Lonnie and Denise saying, hey, come gather with us and help us figure this out. What is this that we need to create to support all of us?
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I got that message
Good.
very clear that it was just not you and Lonnie, and we all need
Yeah.
to be accountable
Yeah.
for the next step and where we're going to take this in the
Hmm.
dialogue, what have you. Um, but we are in the vast majority of leaders out there in the healthcare industry. We're just like a little rock or pebble in the ocean, right? I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
one person can change the world. I do believe that, but we have to make that first step a very smart and wise first step that's going to then
Indeed.
launch. And it's undetermined right now, so it's
It is.
difficult.
It is. Well, and to the theme of the conversation to some degree, you got to risk failure. And
Yeah,
that's where Lonnie and I are, okay, we'll get out there. We'll be that guy on the hillside dancing and say, anybody want to come dance with us?
yeah.
And hope that it becomes a movement that people are drawn together. And,
I I think it's thrilling. I am so impressed that there is a forum and the dialogue that's happening, and people are supportive of each other's comments. And
hmm.
if someone says something that's not into someone's agreement, it is not a he said she said type of thing. It is a thought. It is a yeah, that's a good point. Did you consider this though? Right?
Hmm.
Another aspect of it. So that I do love that forum because again, it allows me to think a little bit differently than I had before, to consider something I hadn't, but respectfully acknowledge the person who's telling me because they're not shaming me.
Mm,
So I love the opportunity to similar great minds are out there. We just need to capitalize on that.
right. And we need to, I mean, appreciative inquiry is exactly what we need here because people are going to come to the table with very different lived experiences.
Yes.
And so how do we quiet our initial reaction and lean into learning more?
Mhm.
So where did you come up with that? Tell me more. I want to know.
Yeah.
And then using, uh, yes ands and other improv tools and
Mhm.
liberating structures. Those are the types of things, Deb, that I wish we could bring to these conversations. How do we embrace the expansion of our mindsets, our paradigms, so that we can go that next level in conversation and understanding.
Yeah. I think, when we talk about the human-centered approach, if we could all just treat each other as human beings and collaborate in that same vein, we would come up with fantastic answers. And
Yeah.
we are so stuck in this. self-wallowing of, I don't know, it's to me, it's just getting more inundated with hate and destruction rather than let's build off of what each other has to offer
Yeah.
and be mindful of what
Yeah.
someone has said.
Well, and so many people are coming to the table with what they think is the solution.
Mm.
And it may be an aspect of solution, but they're closed-minded to the yes and, right?
Right.
I see what you're doing. I see the value there. And,
Yes.
right? No one
Yes.
person is going to solve this. We've tried
Right.
that over and over again, right?
And
It's
it's been
going,
broken for so long. We all need to just lean in and figure it
yeah,
out together.
yeah. And recognize and celebrate the tiniest of contributions towards the
Mhm.
solution.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be somebody who comes in with this big hurrah. It can
Right.
be many little points that create it collectively. And, you know, we got a comment, an email sent to us afterwards that said, I loved that my voice mattered in the conversation because it
Wow.
typically doesn't.
Wow.
And that's what we're saying. There are, yes, there's a bunch of thought leaders, everybody knows their names, but there are a lot of people who have a lot to offer, small or large,
Yeah.
that we need to be able to listen to and hear and elevate up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see it all as we're painting a picture right now,
Yeah.
and it takes everyone's involvement. All the different colors of the rainbow need to be on the picture, and eventually we'll create this masterpiece. We just don't know what that is right now.
Hmm. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're going to have to paint over a section that we painted because we got it wrong. And that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been there too. And don't even get me started about mergers and acquisitions. I think that is the biggest hit to our healthcare system
Oh,
that
it's
we
destroying
are,
us.
and it's getting worse.
Yes.
And the same hospital system has all the hospitals around me. So as a patient, I'm locked. I'm
Hmm.
locked into just one hospital system,
Hmm.
which I
Hmm.
don't like.
Hmm.
So, but we have to stop the madness at some point in time. And I'm actually surprised that it's not a deeper regulation as to preventing these organizations from capitalizing and making a monopoly on all of this.
Yeah.
So governmentally, we're running amok too, and we know
Yeah.
that's a harder door to burst open.
Yeah. Well, and you know, like Don Berwick has said, there's a lot happening in healthcare that is technically legal. It doesn't mean it's moral,
No, that's a good point. That's such
right?
a good.
And so, how do we help those who have a lead by a moral foundation
Mhm.
gather together and feel safe to gather together in order to start calling out the amoral and making a difference?
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, there's a lot of work. And Deb, my biggest thing is I want to make aware for people, all of those individuals who are talking about it and want to participate. They're ready and willing hands. Just give me the thing to do, right?
Yeah.
And those others who are actually developing and need the hands to help them do. So how
Yeah.
do we bring them together?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I honestly think this was a great first step.
yeah,
I do. And both of you taking the launch forward to say, I'm not owning the problem any more than anyone else is, but I'm going to own the platform to allow you to all collaborate together.
right.
Somebody needed to take that first step. And I'm just really grateful that you and Lonnie did that. Um,
Thank you.
that's powerful to
Yeah,
be able to launch that first step. And it is frightening too, I imagine, because not everyone might agree that we need to make a ruckus, right?
that's right. That's right.
There's been quite a few in my conversations. You recommended I speak to a person, I can't remember who it was, but that person recommended I speak to two other people who I made
Yeah,
connections with, and then it's the trickle effect,
yeah,
and it's fabulous.
yeah. And that's my whole thing is how do we make these connections? Because through those connections, we get the yes and. It's the, oh, I see this and this and this, and wow, look at what we didn't see before.
Yes,
And we
yes,
need to trigger that, light those fires, and then let them go, right?
yes.
Yeah. And put
Totally
our
support.
ego aside. That's the biggest thing. Put our
Mm-hmm.
ego aside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's right.
agree.
And you know, the people who are coming are going to be okay with us saying, "Hey, we're figuring it out. You okay with that?"
Yeah,
And if they're not, then this isn't the right group and space for them, and that's okay.
exactly. There
Yeah.
needs to be a tolerance that we
Oh
are
yeah.
all
Human.
human.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And trying to do something that's not been done before.
Mm-hmm.
Let's wade in
Mm-hmm.
together.
Mm-hmm. And there will be failure, but that's okay.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. And we'll celebrate it because that's how we learn.
That's right.
Yep. 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 I had a friend who's taught me to say, I failed, to embrace it. And I love it. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is that can be quite therapeutic.
Hmm.